My stepdaughter said, "F off. You are not my real dad," and treats me like a doormat. Am I wrong to not buy plane tickets for her and telling her to go ask her real dad? I married my wife Emma 12 years ago. She has a 16-year-old daughter, Annie, from her previous relationship, and we have a 7-year-old son as well. From pretty much the beginning of our relationship, Annie and I have never gotten along. I don't know how to emphasize that it is not because of a lack of trying. She just does not like me. When she was young, she was just scared of me and afraid I'd tear their family apart. Nowadays, it's more of a neutral dislike rather than strong antipathy, so I suppose that's progress. Emma is a stay-at-home mother, so she relies on me for income. As a result, I pay for everything for Annie. Food, clothes, volleyball fees, field trips. I take an interest in her hobbies. I go to her games. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I try my damn hardest to be the stepfather I can. But it's so hard. Always giving me curt one-word responses. Always having to have an attitude. She does things to get a rise out of me. Staying out late reeking of booze. Always trying to sneak boys in. Typical rebellious stuff. But I always let her know I love her, and I'm there for her in hopes of her shithead teenager phase passes. The opposite is true for her biological father. She adores him. Can't tell you why. He never goes to her games. Always makes excuses for why he doesn't want to see her. He forgot her birthday last month and she cried herself to sleep. Well, anyways, Friday, I came to her room to check her phone and read her messages. Not a permanent thing, but she's been caught sneaking out twice in the last month, so this is her punishment. I ask for the phone. She says, "No, I'm tired of you checking my shit. Leave me alone." I tell her I'm not asking again and she goes, "Just fuck off already. You're not my real dad. You never have been. Stop acting like you can tell me what to do." Before getting up and slamming the door. Like I said, guys, I'm tired of the blatant disrespect. Of being the verbal punching bag while still providing more for her than anyone else in her family. We haven't really talked since until this morning during breakfast. She asked if I could pay for her plane tickets so she could see her boyfriend cross-state. Like I said, her mom doesn't work and her dad is a POS, so I normally would be the one to cough up the money. Not this time. I responded, "Go ask your real dad." I could tell she was hurt. Tears swelled up from her face and she excused herself from the table. My wife took me aside later and said my comment was extremely disrespectful. I said if anything's disrespectful, it's her treating me like a doormat and a credit card, and I will no longer tolerate this treatment in my house. I told her we don't have to be friends, but if she can't at least be cordial to me or respect my position as an authority figure, she can find someone else to pay for her non-essentials. Am I wrong here? Edit. To add more context, my wife is a saint. She does stick up for me when Annie says something rude or snarky. She just said stooping to her level was inappropriate. But she's a wonderful mom and tries her best. She has tried, but to be honest, she's not great at this type of stuff. She's a wonderful mom, but tends to just excuse the rebellious behavior with a "she'll grow out of it." And like I said, Annie has been making progress. I met Emma when she was still married. They were having problems because her husband, let's call him shithead, was never home for their toddler and didn't work to provide for them. So she was staying with her mom. I would give her platonic advice and she's come to me when shithead would verbally berate her. I told her he will probably do the same to her daughter. She realized I was right. A few months later they divorced. We started dating a few months after that. She introduced me to her daughter maybe 6 or 7 months into dating. They moved into my place a few months after that, and a year later we married. Relevant comments. Everyone sucks here. She's the bratty teenager, not you. Also, please for the love of God don't look through your teens' phones. That's not going to help shit. They're just going to get better and better at hiding things from you. Opie, we only did it as punishment. She snuck out twice. She keeps planning to sneak out, go to God knows where, in the middle of a pandemic, and come back blackout drunk. Taking her phone was the best approach. Perhaps reading these comments though that maybe it wasn't. Comment, ESH. If your family is not in therapy already, get in therapy ASAP. She is a rebellious, bratty teenager. You are an adult. You should know better. Opie. We've been in therapy for years, but Annie stopped going when she was 12. We tried forcing her to go, but she would just stonewall the therapist, so we gave up. My wife and I still go, as a couple and individually. Reddit verdict, not the a-hole. Update. Hey guys, it's been a good 2 weeks since I've posted and I figured you guys would like an update. A lot has happened since the last time I posted. So that night, I did what many of the comments suggested I do, which was to apologize. I told her that I'm sorry, that implying that I'm not her real father. But like it or not, that I consider her my daughter. That I loved her and will always be there for her. She started to cry and sob uncontrollably and said, "Why doesn't he, her biological father, love me?" I held her and told her she didn't need to fight for his approval. I also apologized for looking through her phone. That I've come to accept that it's not an appropriate punishment for a teenage girl, and I was going to find other alternatives. Lastly, I brought up therapy, and while she was hesitant at first, I let her know it was nothing to be ashamed of, that everything she said at therapy would be entirely confidential, and that it could help to have a confidant to help her sort through her feelings. She sat on this for the day, but the next day let me know that she was ready, so I set up the soonest appointment, which was last Friday, and her second appointment this afternoon. It's only been a week, so I don't want to get too optimistic, but honestly I feel like I'm noticing an improvement already. She's actually been engaging back in small talk when normally she wouldn't give me the time of day. She's been following all of the rules, coming home at a reasonable hour. She's been less withdrawn and more social, even to the point where her brother commented on the change today. But the most exciting news of them all is when getting out the car on her way home from therapy. She said, and I quote, "Thanks, Dad." She's never called me Dad before, so honestly I've been riding off that high for the last 2 hours. I'm not delusional enough to think everything's peachy, but honestly the behavior change in the last week was the most progress we've had since, well, ever. I'm cautiously optimistic going forward. Thanks again everyone for your comments, especially the ones who gave me the kick in the ass I needed. Second story. I received a gut-wrenching letter from my biological daughter, whom I never knew existed. She said she was the product of Grape and I was the grapist. I received an email last week from a woman claiming we are a DNA match and she is my biological daughter. It was a long and emotionally charged letter. She said she knew she was child of Grape, and while she had no desire to form a relationship with me, she wanted me to know that she existed and to understand the pain and anguish I had caused her and her mother and grandparents. The letter was gut-wrenching. I was shocked but also skeptical. I have been married 25 years and I have 3 great kids. I have never a woman ever. I thought this had to be a prank or scam. I had done home DNA ancestry testing 2 years ago, and it had not shown a child I wasn't aware of. But when I logged into my account, there she was. I did some sleuthing and figured out that her mother was a woman, Alex, I had dated for about a month during our first semester of college in the mid-1980s. We broke it off mutually and remained friendly. The very last night of the second semester, we hooked up at a dorm party and went to my room and had slept together. It was a casual hookup, and I remember it as 100% consensual and very passionate. Also unprotected. Afterwards we went back to the party and had a great time dancing and mingling with friends. We both went home the next morning for summer break. Alex didn't come back to college the next year, which I gave very little thought to since we weren't close and hadn't bothered to communicate all summer. One of the reasons Alex and I were incompatible was religion. She was Catholic and I'm Jewish. I was not religious, but she had grown up in a strict household. My supposition is that when she discovered the pregnancy, she told her family she had been R-worded rather than admitting to doing it premarital with an ex-boyfriend of different religion. But who knows, maybe she had other reasons. It kills me that I have a daughter in her 30s who has been fed lies about her father. I can't imagine growing up thinking I was a product of Grape. That has to be so hard psychologically. I am in pain for a child I didn't even know existed just a few days ago, and who hates me. I have been debating what to do. I have not written back to my daughter. I badly want to tell her the truth, in a way that she can believe, but how? My wife, who has been a rock the last few days, keeps telling me to give this some time and thought. My best friend says I should hire a lawyer. I don't know what to do, and it's eating me up. Advice, please. Update. I hired a lawyer. He recommended that I respond to my daughter's email to unequivocally deny the Grape allegation. I wrote her a short message and described how and when Alex and I met. I was careful not to attack Alex and to offer sympathy. I explained that our hookup was consensual. A week went by with no response. 2 days ago my daughter wrote me and said Alex now claims she was R-worded a month after she and I hooked up, and that she was told by her doctors that the baby was born premature 8 months later. She's basically saying she was misled by her doctors. I find that very hard to believe, but if it's true it is awful, and if it's not I guess it gives Alex a way out without exposing her big lie, which is maybe best for everyone. Yesterday I spoke to my daughter for the first time. She was crying and so was I, so it wasn't easy to say much. Before we hung up, I told her that I loved her because she's my flesh and blood, and I hoped we could get to know each other and meet my grandchild. She sobbed so much after that, and said she's been waiting her whole life to hear those words. My wife and I told our kids about a week ago. They are teenagers and took it really well. All 3 are interested in meeting their new sister and niece. My wife is my beautiful, caring, bestest friend ever. She's been nothing but supportive. She has offered that we invite my daughter and granddaughter to visit over the Christmas holidays, even suggesting we pay the airfare and offer them our guest room. My daughter is going to call me again tonight and I'm going to propose she come, or offer to fly to her if she's more comfortable. We have a lifetime of catching up to do. Meantime, as for Alex, I feel like my daughter and I were robbed, but I really don't want to dwell on it. She hasn't reached out to me and I don't plan to either, though I'm prepared to be cordial if she does, and to listen to her story and be open-minded. Edit. I'm overwhelmed by all the love coming at me. Thank you all for your support, compliments, and helpful opinions. Relevant comment. Is home DNA ancestry testing 100% accurate for paternity? I feel like I read that there are all sorts of problems with the DNA testing that these services are doing. Shouldn't you confirm that she's actually your daughter before you do anything at all? Opie. My lawyer said the same thing basically. I do intend to propose paternity testing, but still the odds are extremely likely anyhow, so I'm comfortable with it for now. Also, her picture. My family has a distinctive nose. She's got it.